Welcome to Manager Tools. How to go on vacation. Part 1. Here we go.
Folks, if you wanted to come to our Effective Manager Conference for quite a while, but either we don't come to your location or you simply can't afford it because your company won't pay, we understand, and that's why we've created our Video Effective Manager Conference series of videos. You will be able to see the entire conference on video, including the practice, broken down into small 10 to 15 minute segments. Each segment has a quiz, and there's a transcript to go with it through which you can search for those topics you wish to go back on. Come to the website, check it out, get a license for our Video Effective Manager Conference.
I get vacation days. I take vacation, and historically, every time I took vacation, man, I tell you, it wasn't a vacation. It really wasn't. I learned it took me, I had to have 2 weeks of a vacation to get 1 week's worth.
Yeah, you've told me that before. Yeah.
I was fraught with concerns about balls being dropped, and I ended up doing half my time on my vacation doing emails and dialing the conference calls, and then dealing with all the family tension that came as a result of that. And It took me a week usually to figure out, like, oh, maybe I just ought to take a vacation. And the second week, I didn't do any of that stuff. I had a great vacation.
It's interesting you tell me that, because I didn't remember that. When you told me that 10, 15 years ago, I didn't realize that you were doing the conference calls and the emails and so on. We didn't talk about that. I just heard it as you telling me, best friends that we are, that yeah, it just takes me a while to unwind, and I'm just not willing to. And in my head, I thought, well, Mike's smart. He knows how to take vacation.
Yeah, not that smart. And I eventually figured it out. Not as precisely as you're going to lay out for our listeners here, but what really happened is it took me a week to let this unwinding was letting the other stuff go.
Right.
Trusting my directs in the person I left in charge to take care of things, and realizing that, like, the world doesn't revolve around me, and me being gone is not going to put the organization in chaos. I wish that were true. Well, I don't wish that were true. I would make.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. When people say, yeah, the world doesn't revolve around me, it's, I tell people the world doesn't revolve around you. Says, it's really hard to take vacation. I said, I got to tell you, the President of the United States takes vacation.
Yeah.
And if the world revolves around anybody, it might be him. It doesn't actually, but if it's anybody, it's him.
That's right.
By the way, and it's not you.
Right. Nobody listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then the second thing, although if the president is listening, sir, it's an honor. And then the second thing is they would say, yeah, but when he's on vacation, he's working. I said, again, though, that's because he's the president.
Right.
And you are not.
Yeah. And you are not. Right. So,
but it's something else you said interesting. I just got to tell you, I always had this impression that when you said that, it was about the letting go and the mental part of it. But of course, this is Manager Tools, and we're all about actionable guidance. There's nothing in this cast about mentally letting go, because we can't teach that behavior specifically. The idea would be, though, I think in general, what I would say in advance the cast is we want you to behave your way into feeling something.
That's right.
We want you to enjoy your vacation, because companies wouldn't offer you vacation unless it was worth it. Believe me, folks, vacation exists for a reason. Okay. I've got all kinds of stories about people working too many hours and then claiming they work even more hours than they do. And I believe that, but companies would not offer it. Vacation costs money because there's work not being done and pay being given. And you may think it's baked into your salary, but if they eliminated vacation, they could have less people. In principle, right? And what they've learned is, no, that doesn't actually work. Just the opposite actually happens.
That's right.
And so what we're suggesting is we want you to enjoy your vacation. If you can't unwind and you engage in all the behaviors we recommend here, then there's a different conversation for you to have, or different thought process to go through.
Right. Which considers a different type of professional.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, exactly. And we're not that. But what may surprise you is that feeling of letting go. If you engage in these behaviors, I would be willing to bet 75 to 90% of the people who listen to this would end up going, oh, wow, I really was able to let go. Because if you don't feel like you're able to let go, and then you dial into a conference call, you've just proven that you can't let go. And that's one more brick on the other side of the scale.
You said it much better than I did. But that's the point I was trying to make, is before I would have described it, 15 years ago, I would have described it as not letting go. And what I figured out eventually was it wasn't about not letting go. It was I was engaging in the wrong behaviors.
Yeah. Instead of being at the beach with your family and listening to the waves and feeling the sun and having somebody pass you a cold beer, you were on a conference call.
Right. I took my work with me to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, I just took my office to the beach, which is not a great way to have a vacation.
Not a great way.
Okay. So enough of that. Let's talk about what I should have known 15 years ago.
Yeah. We're going back to this is old school manager tools with 10 recommendations. Number 1, choose a number 2. Number 2, when you're scheduling your vacation, guys, be reasonable if it's possible and consider your work schedule. Number 3, figure out notification standards, largely with your number 2, but also with your team. And that usually means meeting with your number 2. Number 4, notify your team and also some key non-team constituents in advance of your plans. Don't send out an email to 500 people, dude. Nobody cares. Use an out-of-office notice on your email. Change your voicemail message. Don't check email while you're on vacation. And now everybody's mind just exploded. Institute the no news is good news rule regarding notifications, meaning don't require notification if everything's fine. Don't dial in to things. Delegate those things. And then plan for a return briefing day 1. You have our word, folks. If you engage in these behaviors, even if you're in a, quote, email culture, unquote, even if you're worried, you will enjoy your vacation significantly more, and virtually nothing bad will happen. And if it does, you'll discover something bad will happen, and you will get over it, because while you're at work on vacation, bad things happen too.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, let's talk about choosing a number 2. And the way I feel about this, if you're going on vacation and you aren't willing to designate someone to act in your stead, don't go. Just don't go, because it's because if someone can't act in your stead, and I'm not talking about somebody who's good, if you're not willing to choose anyone, then you're basically saying, I haven't done my job. I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. And so therefore, it's not that you're irreplaceable. It's that you don't get the benefit. And so you have vacation days you can't take because you haven't done due diligence. You haven't done the basic stepping stones, building blocks of being a manager. And guys, we have more than 10 topics of guidance related to choosing a second in command. For when you're going to be on vacation, we urge you to review them. And when I say choosing a second in command for when you're going to be on vacation, I don't actually mean that. What I mean is choosing a number 2, the person who steps in for you when you're out for a day or a week, a day because you're sick or because your spouse is giving birth or because a child ends up in the hospital or because you have to go to a beloved family member's funeral or something to that effect. You don't choose a second command for vacation. You choose a second in command at number 2 because that's what professionals do. Because the organization is not about you. Believe me, I hate to say this, guys, but if you're hit by a car tomorrow and you're gone in 6 months, and for most of us actually in 6 weeks, you will be mourned. But your absence will be absorbed by the organization. Your feeling about your role is completely wrong. Jamie Dimon, pretty successful CEO and chairman of a bank, whom I know well, got throat cancer recently, and he missed a bunch of stuff. Their single biggest meeting, as I recall the email that I got, said the single biggest meeting that the company has, Jamie missed. He would have run the meeting. I think it was for very large customers, an offsite, and he missed it. He didn't go. He pick and choose. And there it is. You're on vacation. You've got important things to do, but you're not meeting with the most important people to your entire company. And if somebody's recuperating, and by the way, that's what vacation is, a form of recuperation, and they can miss it, the CEO can miss it, then you can miss things. So we recommend you go to the webpage, click on Map of the Universe. On the webpage, on a browser-based webpage, non-mobile, desktop webpage is in the top right. In your app, I think it's just one of the scrolling choices you have, Map of the Universe, and then click on Succession Planning, which is a top-level category. And let me say something else here. We could have easily given a podcast about the need for you to go on vacation. We're going to weave that in
today, but we hope we don't have to urge you to go on vacation. If you believe that you don't need vacation, you're not smart enough to be effective to learn enough of the things you need to learn, don't bother listening to the rest of our cast. And I'm a nice guy. I'm saying that a little bit tongue in cheek, but you need vacation. It's as simple as that. And even if you love your job, and nobody loves their job more than me. Mike likes his a lot. I really, really like my job, but I go on vacation. So,
yeah.
All right, look, having a second in command, a number two, a deputy, and an assistant manager. What did they used to say in the office? Dwight Schrute would say assistant regional manager.
No, assistant to this. I don't know.
No, he would say assistant regional manager. And then Steve Carell, who was playing Michael, would say assistant to the regional manager or regional manager's assistant or something.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever name you want to call it is an integral part of managing directs. It is unrelated to the quality of your directs. That said, it's become a lot less common than it used to be. And the reason why, in my opinion, is the profusion of email and conference calls and smartphones that have caused managers to confuse always in touch digital communications with managing other people's work and output. I read an article a couple of years ago about one of the reasons that the empire, the fabulous empire of India, flourished until it didn't under British rule, and Hong Kong similarly many, many years ago, was because there wasn't always on instant communications, and those people in charge had to run things because you couldn't get notification to them for 4 weeks, I think is how long it took a boat to sail from London to Delhi.
I'm glad when you said about the empire, you're talking about India. I thought you were going to start making Star Wars references or something.
Yes.
So I was kind of worried.
There are some people in India who might refer to the British experience as imperial entanglements, to use the to use the Obi-Wan Kenobi line from Star Wars #4 in New Hope. Not that I'm a geek.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. So
sorry, folks.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have taken us there.
Wretched. I mean, do I even need to say wretched hive of scum and villainy? So you feel connected, and that's how you begin to see yourself as needing to be on. We'll talk about this later in email, guys. But if you ever want to do an experiment about what you can do relative to your email and what might happen to your email on vacation, simply stop sending email. Read the email, and if you need to do something relative to the email, don't send an email. Make a phone call, or go talk to someone, or simply defer the action that you believe you have to do until sometime later, or choose not to send an email to one of your directs and communicate in a one-on-one. This is a total wild guess, but I'd be willing to bet your email will drop between 1/3 and 1/2, because the reason you get emails is because you send emails. Because part of the reason you send emails is because you receive them. So therefore, the opposite is true in a communication systems mentality. So you can go away as long as you're willing to do what managers for many, many years, but less so now in the digital communications world, knew, which is you have to have a number two. Somebody has to be willing to step in, even if they're not very good. And one of the ways managers learn how to learn early on in careers, when organizations first started getting big, before communications became Ansible instantaneous, is they learned how to develop a number two because they wanted to go on vacation, because they needed to be engaged in special projects in order to get visibility. And if they didn't have a number two, they were indispensable, which is actually a bad thing. And therefore, they learned how to develop someone primarily through picking one. And they gradually spread the knowledge that they learned in developing that one person to everybody else in their team. And without a number two, guys, your biggest fear of vacation, your job not being done, you getting in trouble. If you don't have a number two, that becomes likely. And I know what you're thinking. If you can just be gone and not do your work for time and have no one do your work for time, how valuable are you? So therefore, in your head, you know that you're valuable. You think the work you do is valuable. Not getting it done is risky for the organization. You'd be held responsible. And since you can't not do your work, if you believe your work is valuable and you do vacation right, you got to have a number two. Don't believe the lie that staying connected, dialed in, up to date, on top of things, even when you're on vacation, is the way to get ahead or impress people. I got to tell you, we have lots of friends, listeners who Send us a note and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do it then. I'm on vacation, but I got this and this and this. And they act as if I should be impressed.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, what are you doing? I'm sorry. You're the guy who, oh, he doesn't get it. Oh, yeah. I can't remember what movie that's from, but oh, yeah, he doesn't get it. Oh, well, I've told him, but he just doesn't get it.
If you're talking to Mark or me, if you want to impress us, then let us know how well your organization ran when you weren't there, when you actually took a vacation, because you've done all the things you need to do in terms of developing your directs and developing a number two, right? That's and learning how to delegate. Right?
Yeah, teaching someone else to be able to do your job well enough that they can do it during a period, perhaps an extended period of your absence, because the organization needs you to do something more important, perhaps, doesn't make you unvaluable. It makes you invaluable, which is the equivalent of priceless. So choose a number two, and then prep for vacation by telling them it'll be a mini test run for them getting promoted, for them learning more, for them stepping up, for them getting more visibility.
Absolutely. Let's talk about concerning work schedules when scheduling your vacation. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So you've got a number two, but you're still nervous. And that, by the way, that's normal, guys. One way to help manage those nerves is to be smart about when you take vacation, when it's possible. If you're a finance division manager and your fiscal year ends at the end of Q1, at the end of March, it's probably not smart to roll out this sort of vacation process that we're recommending here for your first time in the last week of March.
No, why not? I mean, that's my most stressful time. I mean, I'm trying to alleviate stress. That's why I go on vacation.
Yeah.
Darn.
I have a very good friend who's a CFO of a well-known company and is pretty much not able to take vacation for a few weeks before and a little bit after his fiscal year end, which is at the end of Q1. There's so much work then that even with a good number two, and good CFOs have them, and he does, vacation is hard to do well. And look, guys, what I just said about there are times when you shouldn't take vacation, some of you are listening will then say, well, I'm always that busy, right? Yeah, I'm always that busy, and then justify the wrong way of taking vacation. But guys, just for the record, you're not, of course, that important. So whatever, believe what you want to believe. So it's okay. It's completely okay to consider the rhythms of your professional life when you schedule vacation. Yes, family comes first. But if there's not a date-specific event involved in your vacation planning, some flexibility is smart. If you're going to a wedding, an anniversary party, a gigantic family reunion whose dates are set a year in advance, or a son or daughter's graduation, or something to that effect, or an annual family trip to a beach location in the summertime that is scheduled in advance, because lots of families go. I know, Mike, that used to be true for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Then that is a date-specific event, and if it comes at a bad time, we would still recommend you go, and it will be harder. But other than that, there are plenty of other vacation opportunities you have where you can say, well, let's move it 2 weeks this way or 1 week that way, in order to consider your professional life. And I think that's completely reasonable. And it would be a great way to get better at this process. Again, don't choose this process and then schedule a vacation at the absolute wrong time.
Yeah. And when you do leave, when you do take vacation, even though your number two knows, you delegate portions of your job to her before, she knows how to do it, but she doesn't necessarily know what you want her to do when you're gone, right? So you have to figure out the notification standards that you want and discuss that with your number two and the rest of the team.
Yeah, people do this all the time. And they do it with this incredible black hole of lack of knowledge where I say to them, they say, well, she should know. Like, okay, dude, here's your test. Do you know what your boss does well enough to be able to fill in for her without any preparation? And the fact is, it's been my experience that when I talk about that, I call it the triumvirate of your boss, you, and your direct. It is amazing to me the myopia that people handle the relationships associated with that, the relationship up and the relationship down. We assume things about our directs with us that are completely not proven out by our relationship with our boss. And it's still, in terms of character, the same relationship, subordinate to manager. Most of us labor regularly under the mistaken conceit that while we don't have a sharp sense of what our boss does, of course, our people know full well what I do. My people know full well what I do. It's like, no, guys, if you don't think you know what your boss does and you're not sure you'd fill in, it's a pretty good chance your directs don't know what you do. And you have to work at that. So our recommendation for vacation, sit down with your number 2 privately about a month in advance of your time away. Okay. And guys, a month is about right for most of us because calendars start getting inputs about that far out. There won't be that much on your calendar a month out already that you'll have to deconflict with your direct's calendar. Their calendar will largely be free so that when you accept requests that come in this week for something happening a month from now, when you're going to be on vacation, those requests will be for them to attend while you're gone. They won't having to scramble to cancel what is already a full schedule if you do this 2 weeks in advance. Now, most of you won't meet the month. You'll do it a week or 2 weeks before, and you'll hate it because, I got to move this, and I got to move that, and I just won't go to this and everything. No, do it a month in advance. And by the way, it makes it much less dramatic. Hey, this is a standard thing. I'm going on vacation in a month. You're going to start getting meeting requests that are going to come to me, and I'm going to say yes, but you're going to go. And your calendar is going to fill up real fast. And that's how you learn. You know how you learn how to do a job a level higher than yours? You do your own job and you do the other one for a short period of time. Feeling stress? Good, because this job has more stress than yours. Now look, tell your direct, your number 2, you'll still be accepting requests for time, your time, and deliverables while you're on vacation. But as those inputs come in, you're going to be managing them based on their ability to be delegated. If the CEO wants something that week, and your direct hasn't met the CEO, but you know the CEO quite well, you may not want to blithely delegate that, right, to your number 2.
Right, so you might negotiate something different with the CEO.
Yeah, so that deliverable, that time, that meeting may need to be rescheduled. Fine. But most items, what you do is you get an input a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks in advance for the time you're on vacation. You're going to be triaging for your direct. In the meeting you have with them, you'll notify them that as requests come in, you'll look at them, you'll action them. In other words, you'll do them yourself, or you'll defer them to happen after vacation, or much more likely, you'll delegate them. Okay? By the way, some of you will cheat a little bit and say, well, that's easy. I won't delegate anything. I'll just do everything before or after. Yeah, which is the same thing as not having a number 2. So why bother? But anyway, when you delegate them, you'll notify your direct of the time or the deliverable to be met while you're out. In a high op-tempo organization, op-tempo means operational tempo. If you're really busy, of course, everybody thinks they are, you may need a weekly review of the items you've been delegating to them and deliverables you've been delegating to them as you prepare once a week, each week between the month in advance meeting and the actual vacation. Take a moment and notify them of the planning steps and communications and escalation protocols we're going to talk about below, right? The things we're going to walk through here in just a minute. Things like out of office email, so that they know that their email is going to be listed. A link to their email is going to be listed in your email. That you're going to be using voicemail, a vacation notice, and their phone number will be in it. That you don't intend to check email, and the email will kill you because you'll think, oh, email's sort of, it's benign. I can be at the beach with my family and I can be doing email. The problem with that is that you will then you're at every single day of your week-long vacation. You will check email, and because you've checked email on your phone, as an example, God forbid you take your laptop to the beach, you dork. But if you
really
do
that wasn't
no,
cool.
It's not for you. No, dude, that was not for you. I'm picturing.
Oh, okay.
My wife and I just went to Maui, my wife and I just went to Maui, and there was a guy doing email. He says, "Isn't this great? Doing email on the beach." That's like saying getting a par on a hole is great. No, getting a birdie is great.
Yeah, the only thing better than that is like not doing mail on a beach.
Yeah, exactly. Being on a beach and drinking at 2:00 in the afternoon. And listening to a Dodger game and Vin Scully, maybe. Or even better, being on a beach and knowing in a couple hours you're going to be playing golf. But the point is, when you go to the beach and you think, I can sit and do email and I can do it on my phone. You will engage the same behaviors you use when you're in the office or when you're at home or when you're on the train, when you are on vacation doing email, which is to say you'll zone out, your spouse will speak to you and you won't hear him or her. Your kids will speak to you and they will know you're doing mail, and it will feel just like you doing mail when you're supposed to be putting them to bed. And guys, it just doesn't work. Take it from a guy who tried it. It doesn't work. And that's not what your vacation is for. You're not so bloody important that you have to check email. Just not. So go over all the stuff that we're going to walk through here in just a little bit. And then, you may also mention to them items that are worthy of notification, or those that you want to tell them, no matter what, don't even brief me on these things that everybody else thinks important. I don't care. And don't be surprised, guys, if you're not in agreement with them, that clarifying these things is helpful. That's the point of this meeting. You don't assume, you clarify. Finally, encourage your number 2 to be of the mindset that now and in the intervening days before vacation is the time to be asking questions and having discussions, not during your vacation, which would be you talking about work during your vacation. And when you talk about work during vacation, you're not on vacation. You're working, but you're still paying for that hotel room near the beach. This podcast was produced by Manager Tools. Manager Tools creates actionable management guidance every single week. To receive additional materials via our newsletter and to find products for situations you may face as a manager or professional, go to www.manager-tools.com. Search for Manager Tools on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Thanks, everyone. That's it. We'll see you next week, or at least, when you get back from your vacation. So long, folks.